Hello and welcome back to Let's Play Pillars of Eternity with me, Bring It On. Speak to Durance about Wodika.
What is it, Watcher?
Durance doesn't seem to recognize you for a second, then blinks, frowns. Does what we learned about Wodika trouble you?
It stinks of her. It is justice, but if her greater purpose was to think Margaret would fall prey to such deceit. And Aethys. Widewind had always claimed to be invading Deerwood to free it. What if it were true? What if he had come to stop Wodika's plot before it began?
His face contorts in fury.
Surely Aethys earned his death at Godhammer Citadel, but not for those reasons. Not to keep him silent. If such a thing has brought about this chaos...
Durance tilts his head, as if listening to an inner voice. Then he frowns, the frown deepening as he speaks.
Must we always be tools of gods? If Wodika and Margaret, if they are the cause of this, the Hollowborn, if the purges were never necessary, if Aethys was fighting back...
Durance's face collapses in fury, his body shaking. The Hollowborn were the crime of another god.
So many lies. And Wodika, perhaps she is the next god to fall beneath the Godhammer.
Durance's body continues to shake, hands clenching white into fists. Sweat builds, streaming down the sides of his face. Would it have been better had he been spared this knowledge?
No, I am glad to have walked this far with you, seen this truth.
Durance is cold.
Perhaps it was what I was meant to see, with a Watcher's eyes.
He glances at you beneath his brows, warily.
All these dances of words and intrigues, machines of men, twisted, ripping the souls of children, and by the gods, the goddess of justice. If I could end her like Aethys, Margaret burned her once. One can do so again.
He takes a breath, his eyes narrowing.
Wodika, she must answer to her own justice.
His face darkens. Justice or revenge?
Anyone with a shred of spirit seeks both justice and punishment. It burns in the heart of anyone who lives. All seek it. If the world does not balance, we all drown in the oceans. And the gods would not care. Margaret, she must be redeemed, and punishing Wodika, that will serve.
Durance frowns, his hands clenching. Do we know that Margaret was not a willing accomplice?
Is this some final joke at my expense? To test my faith further? And why would you think that, Watcher?
Durance looks at you for a moment, then his lip peels back, sneering. He laughs, loud and harsh. You said you left Ashfall without telling anyone of your departure.
If all you have are questions, then I have enough of those. She is a bitch of a goddess, to be sure, but even a whore only goes so far in crossing those she serves.
Durance frowns, and his smile dies as he stares at you. Well, yeah, that's what frowning is. A little redundant. Why would the goddess of war cloak her soldiers when they leave her seat at Ashfall?
You answer a question with a question. Then why did I feel her disappointment at Halgot? Why were we shamed?
Durance is silent for a moment, and when he speaks again, he speaks low and slowly, almost carefully. He frowns. Because I think she tried to kill you there.
Kill me? She is a goddess. I still drink from her burning breasts, Watcher. If she wished me dead, she could trace me to my source and kill me.
Durance looks at you for a moment as if you're mad, then his lip peels back, sneering. He laughs loud and harsh. His face burns, and his hand clenches tight on the staff. In the dream of the Godhammer, your spirit looked blurred, indistinct in the light, as if it had been sheared from you. Durance stares at you, his expression frozen, but he's silent, listening. If you had been damaged as I saw in the Godhammer vision, then she may be unable to see you as you once were. Durance turns from you for a moment. His face twists in thought, conflicting emotions running across his features. Finally, he turns to you, his face steady.
There's no proof, Watcher. I was a fool to think you could help me see any farther than I could.
If you don't trust me, then trust your staff. Admit that the other Godhammer builders are dead. Durance turns to the staff, and for a moment, you see his eyes burning, taking in the edges of the wood, the symbols inlaid there, the 11 faded circles.
They died in the blast, yes, the other 11. I was the only one to walk away. I thought we had wronged our goddess, that this was my trial, and if I could prove myself worthy of her, I should have known better. There is only one God of redemption, and I saw him ended.
As he studies the staff, you feel a wave of heat, a terrible energy rolling forth from it in waves. So much so it feels as if the Godhammer itself is alive in his hands. And past it, you hear a cry, like a child being born, and your eyes feel the flash of white, then 100 imagined shades of purple and white, streaming and circling into the howling of a storm, and beneath it, the grinding of ancient machines of stone, rock, and metal, grinding and turning, till all around you feels as if it's burning, sinking into the shadows of the earth, beneath the ground, the only place where a spirit might find refuge. When your vision clears, you see Durance, his hands clutching the staff, and his eyes are bright, burning red. Atop the staff, the flame burns cleanly, brightly. As his gaze burns, he rips his gaze away and howls, a bellowing, horrid howl, like a wounded animal, and sweat pours down his brow. We can see that justice is served, to her and Woedica both.
To think I served her, I followed her. Now I shall serve no one. Woedica's lies must be answered. And now it seems I must take fire and war from a goddess's false claim as well. I still take from her strength as I did, for as long as it lasts. For I shall not cast her aside yet, until I have drained her dry and had my fill, just as she intended for me.
Durance's face cracks into a snarl. His face becomes stone, his eyes still burning, almost hungrily. Durance snarls.
For I have learned one of the lessons of the faithful. The faithful may wound a goddess greater than any enemy. A purification is coming, and this fire shall consume them both. If doubts and curiosity...
Oh, we're done. So I assume we couldn't have turned him against Mogren had we not spoke to him throughout the game. But since we had evidence, mostly from our visions, I guess, when we saw like the staff burning in our dreams. Also, that how he let out was really good voice acting. In the glittering stars of the nearby constellation, you see the grim shape of a skull. Its jaws are open wide, as if frozen in a silent scream. Pray to Berath. You kneel before the shrine, prepare to recite the ritual words. There is life in death, and death in life. There's a rippling shift in the air around you, as if some unfelt wind has changed, bringing unexpected warmth. You feel the peculiar weight of an unseen presence, and of eyes upon you. You kneel and pray to Berath. Even while your eyes are closed, you see a road that seems to stretch on forever. The stars wheel overhead in a clockwork rotation of constellations, disappearing over the horizon to your left. only to rise on your right. You try to make out the details on either side of the road, but your eyes can't seem to focus. One moment you think you see a meadow blanketed with mist, and another sheer canyon walls. For just an instant, you even see waves lapping at the edges of the road. When you step into the shifting landscape, you feel certain you would only end up back on the road. You know this is a vision, but the packed dirt feels firm beneath your feet, and the night air cool in your face. You're walking. Your feet seem to carry you forward of their own accord. Something looms ahead of you. As you get closer, you see two stone figures that look strangely familiar. The two faces of Kirono, what we call Berath. She shudders slightly, her feathers ruffling as she peers at the figures with apprehension. You remember the doors to Cleobon Rillag, and the two figures carved into the mountain next to it. One looks vaguely male, and the other vaguely female. Only a thin layer of flesh covers their skeletal bodies, which twist to face the doorway between them. The doorway, however, is not what you saw in the ruins. It's a skull, gaping and jawless, and as you look on, its open mouth seems to grow. The arms of the two stone sculptures are swept toward the mouth, inviting you in. Turn and leave. Enter the skull's mouth. The road continues through the maw to another shifting landscape surrounded by stars. As you pass through it, you see an identical doorway in the distance. A dwarven man stands near it, unmoving. You turn and look behind you, only see the skull gate you just passed facing you. An elven woman waits on the road. Like the dwarf, she stands still. Approach the dwarven man. You continue down the road toward him. He looks up as you approach. You can't tell if he's looking at you or through you. His face is smooth but flaccid, as if the flesh has detached from the muscles underneath. As you look on, his face begins to change. Wrinkles crack at the corners of his eyes. His mouth sinks, carving deep lines from his nose to the corners of his lips. His jowls sag, and the loose flesh hangs like dough. He raises his cupped hands. They're covered in blood. He lifts them to his face and smears himself, from his newly creased forehead to the wattles of his neck. As he massages the dark, sticky fluid into his skin, the fresh wrinkles disappear. The hanging folds recede, and his flesh tightens, as if re-adhering to his skull. He lifts his head, and this time, you know he's looking at you. His renewed face looks like a mask, artificially smooth and still. Behind it, his black eyes are two hungry pits, yawning like the empty mouths of skulls. Come, make your sacrifice to the Ethic Knoll. His body blocks the path. He extends a bloody hand toward you. Take his hand. You grab his hand, but his skin gives too easily under your grip. As you try to pull away, you hear a noise like dried canvas tearing. His skin splits, following a long seam that begins at his arm and stretches the length of his body. Blood gushes forth in such quantities that you can't imagine there was ever anything else in him. Sure enough, as the dwarf empties of blood, he collapses like a desiccated husk. The blood in the path gleams with 1,000 souls worth of essence. The essence evaporates, trailing shining filaments into the night sky. Only now that he is dead can you continue onward. The blood pools around your feet, and you look up to see the elven woman waiting further down the road. Approach the elven woman. You start toward her. There's something unnatural about the way she stands. She's too still. When you get closer, you see that her legs taper into a slender trunk, and in place of her feet are gnarled, twisting roots. She lifts her face to an invisible sun. Her long golden hair is the color of autumn leaves. As you look more closely, you realize that her head is actually covered with tendrils and vines, sprouting brilliant yellow leaves. Each glimmers with the essence of an entire soul. She gives you a beatific smile, and as you look on, the leaves slowly fall from her head and settle at her roots. They melt into the path beneath her, and almost immediately, New leaves sprout in the place of the old. He reaches toward you, still smiling as roots spring from her fingertips. Her outstretched arms bar the path. Come, graft your soul to the golden grove. Take her hand. Roots twine around your fingers, and as they do, they grow rigid and cold. Her outstretched arm petrifies, and as a rough stone bark overtakes her flesh, you can only look on in horror. You break away from her brittle grasp. Her feet are rooted in place, but she twists and writhes as if trying to free her own dying limb. The petrification reaches her shoulder and spreads down her body, freezing it in a painful arc. It creeps up her neck. She throws her face skyward like a drowning swimmer. The grayness covers her face, freezing her gasp in stone. Now that she is still and lifeless, you can continue past her. Only the golden leaves on her head remain untouched, and as you watch, they fall one by one to the path below. They shrivel as the shimmering essence fades from them. A voice echoes along the road, barely more than a whisper on the breeze. Return them to the wheel. You lift your gaze and see the skull gate ahead of you on the path. The candles of Tyr Evron wink through the open mouth. So he wants us to kill the leader of the Ethic Knoll and the leader of the Golden Grove. So let's go do that before we speak to the other gods. I assume we'll have to do this quest for him before he'll speak to us, and then we'll move on to the next deities.
Stop right there. You're in the wrong city, Inquisitor.
The Phantom Soldier raises his short sword to your chest.
Did you think you wouldn't be recognized here in your old home? I've seen your trials with my own eyes.
Oh, okay, only part of it's voice acted. I've seen you light pyres with good people tied to them. People I'd known many a year. He seizes you by the throat, and your airway tightens. Whether real or imagined, you cannot tell. They deserve your confession. He raises the point of his sword, holding it a hair's breadth from your eye.
Suros, what are you doing?
Startled, the soldier releases you immediately and turns to face the speaker. A woman in a plain wool tunic, fully a head shorter than he, but somehow seeming to tower over him. You've seen this woman's face before, but from afar, bloodied and burned as she lay stretched across an iron wheel. At the moment, it is marked only with concern.
An assassin sent by the Inquisition, my lady, daring to approach our camp.
He is so poor an assassin as to approach an armed guard in daylight. I should have nothing to fear. I would hear what this man has to say. She stares him down until he can no longer face her. He turns away, sour-faced, watching you through sidelong glances, his knuckles white around the pommel of his sword.
Why are you here, Inquisitor?
Grand Inquisitor Theus Ix Arcanon dispatched me here to spy on you. Iovara doesn't blink. Are things as desperate as that over there? I'd never have known. Hope your next assignment is more stimulating. Listening to my lectures is dull work for a spy. Where are you from, Inquisitor? Around here, actually. Is that so? I meet so few these days. Many of my followers journey from other cities and kingdoms, and most of these soldiers were conscripted from the surrounding countryside. I welcome the thought of having someone around who knew Cretum in better days.
I would like for you to stay here in our camp as my guest.
My lady Iovara, I beg of you. This is an Inquisitor. This is a desperate attempt on your life. The only way it can succeed is if you allow it to.
No longer able to remain quiet, the soldier approaches Iovara and puts his hand on her shoulder, turning her aside. His voice is hushed, but by no means private.
This is a missionary, same as I was. Taught the wrong things as I was. If I can't have faith in one man's ability to reason, once he knows the truth, what hope do we have?
She brushes his hand away with the calm grace of the resolute.
My lady, he admits being a spy.
That should make him less of a threat, wouldn't you agree? I have nothing to hide. All I see here is an opportunity to persuade someone who could help us. We have many former missionaries here. They are our most loyal, our most helpful. Many have died for us. These are not people we should be turning away. And if the Inquisition wants my life, they can have it. But they know as well as I do that my cause will not die with me. Come. We have much to talk about.
Ivara beckons you somewhere behind her. Alright, hopefully we can convince these people to die, and we don't have to attack them in the middle of their respective compounds.
Builder's wisdom to you.
Oh, that's right. She is not the leader. The leader was seen in Elmshore, was she not? Alright, so let's go to Blood Sands then. So I'm guessing that was done on purpose because Blood Sands is separate from the rest of Twin Elms, so if we attack that guy, only the people in Blood Sands will be hostile. And the same thing with Elmshore. If we have to attack her there, we're not going to anger all of the Funfathans. You return, here to make a sacrifice or merely to observe. Berath believes it's time you paid your dues. Preston grunts. He can descend from his mighty pantheon and tell me himself. Actually, that's why I'm here. Do I really want to do this? I do want to speak to all the gods. But I don't follow any of them. And they all seem pretty petty. Man, I could make the argument that I need their help to get inside. I already have Hylea's help. But she only offered me one alternative, which, from what I know, is a good one, but there may be a better one. I am torn. I don't know. Because I don't want to just do the gods' dirty work for the sake of doing it. But I do want to explore all the different gods' dialogue. You know what? Screw it. Plus, this guy seems a little bloodthirsty. Actually, that's why I'm here.
Since when do the gods send mortals to collect? You're much too talkative to be the usher. This is the trouble with deities. They meddle in a world that they don't even inhabit. I hope they've promised you something better for your next life. Let's go. Wrong.
Your aim.
This guy's still kicking. My bad.
That's it. Level beyond safety.
I wasn't so darn curious, I wouldn't even be doing this quest. Hey, we got Purgatory out of it. The Saber, plus 20% damage, which is the default Saber bonus. 20% of damage restored is Endurance, plus 0.5 to crit damage multiplier, and is exceptional. In a monastery overlooking Cold Flow Lake, in the foothills of the White March, there once resided a clandestine order of monks known as the Thousand Dreams. Through a powerful form of pain-induced meditation, these monks were able to walk through their past lives as though they were dreams. Each traversed these memories in ultimate hopes of achieving complete understanding of his or her soul's identity. They believed that after experiencing 1,000 lifetimes, total enlightenment could be attained. Greatest of their sect was Re Golan, who had an ancient soul and was said to have walked more lifetimes than any other. When she came to the end of all her lifetimes, and found there was no more to experience, it became clear that she would never come to know herself completely, for there was simply not enough to learn from. Unable to accept this fate after her endless trials, Re Golan sought a way to take the experiences of others for her own, that she might reach 1,000 lifetimes yet. She channeled her unquenchable hunger into her favorite sword, and it became an instrument of her will. With it, she claimed many lives in the surrounding area. Each drop of blood on her blade was a new experience, each killing blow a new lifetime for her to claim. When the rest of the Thousand Dreams came to learn of her actions, they banded together and confronted Re Golan upon her return to the temple. In the end, amid a courtyard of slain monks, she did indeed come to understand her soul. It is said that among the many experiences contained in the blade are all those of Re Golan herself. The blade itself is a simple saber with a worn leather grip and an inset ebony hilt. The sword becomes hot to the touch when its wielder's foes are vanquished.
Yeah.
Yeah, in a way, this is a contract with the god. That can't be too opposed to it, right?
My mind feels sharp.
Often, earthen raw.
It feels weird. I don't know. I'm still having a hard time justifying this course of action. I haven't really played as a devout character up to this point, so it's weird just, you know, doing the god's bidding on a whim like this.
Let's go.
Now, of course, we're going to kill this entire sect of druids as well. Which I think in the long run is going to hurt the Glenfathans, right? Because they don't have access to their war paint.
My mind.
Right.
I think it's also a good idea because we are going up against one of the gods. We're going up against Wotica. Possibly Mogren as well. So maybe having more allies is going to be more beneficial. There's no guarantee that...
My mind feels sharp as steel.
Halea by herself will be able to, confront Wotica for us.
Let's go. Let's go.
Alright, I'm actually going to call the episode here, and the next one we'll continue clearing out Blood Sands. I had a feeling this was going to happen at some point, but not in this way. Oh well. We'll clear this out next time. We'll take care of the leader of the Golden Grove. We'll return and speak to Berath. There's one more thing we can do. Someone told me that after we do this quest, there's a unique recruit I can get for Cadnua. So we'll do that as well. But for now, thanks for watching. I hope to see you guys in the next one.